And TGIF. I cannot emphasize that enough. Cheers. I do not know where the week went. It seems to have flown by, but simultaneously, it feels like I just went through an entire month in a week. So let's just recap. October has been a very busy month, it seems. So I was just like, oh, I don't have much to talk about or share. But then I started going through it and I had to stop. So let's jump into it, shall we? Okay, so if you didn't catch my live stream with my big head's in the way, with the famous Molly Fuchel, I had a nice conversation with her to discuss the Dynamics Con Live conference. Let me see if I can move this around my big head. There we go. To discuss the Dynamics Con Live conference with her coming up in Anaheim in less than 2 weeks. So if you haven't registered, if you can hop on a plane, come out to beautiful California, fingers crossed the weather is nice. It usually is, it should be. So come hang out with us at the very nice JW Marriott Resort. So, yep, that is going to happen. And I'm not jealous at all because I'm attending Dynamics Con Live. However, there was some little tiny, I don't know how important it is, but there was apparently some conference in some city called Milan. I don't know. It's probably some small, insignificant little city that no one would love to visit like at any point in their life. But we had some great Twitter posts and threads and tons of activity. Twitter didn't even show me half of the activity. I'd see a retweet or something and be like, wait, I follow that person. I didn't see this. And I go and dig in. There's like 50 tweets that I did not see in my Twitter feed. So there was so much activity flying by. And I've had this problem before that Twitter literally just didn't show me any of it. Maybe it would have said show more or something like that. But basically, it's just jumping me past all of these tweets. And probably for my own sanity, which I understand. But ton of activity. It was great watching Kristen and Shannon show their events and crazy antics at the conference. It looks like they had a great time marauding around the city on scooters and going to the concert and dragging people on the dance floor. So they had a great time and tons of people there. Just in this photo on the left, I see AJ and Stefan and oh my gosh, David, I believe. And I don't recognize the two people on the far right. And I don't know, I don't think I know the person with the beard there. But in lots of photos, they had a great time. So anyway, If you have not been ingesting the fire hose of tweets from Directions EMEA 2021, well, YinChus, he's got your back. And he has assembled a mega thread on his blog of just pages and pages and pages of tweets that he has assembled. Like, just check it out. It just goes on and on. There's so much activity and so much information was shared, so many stories, so many great photos. Good morning or evening, AJ. How are you? I hope you had a great time at the Directions Conference. So check out YinChus Blog 19405. I love his blog. I love his URLs. Like, just makes it so easy. Oh, 19405, and you know exactly where to go. Great idea. So he's got a ton and ton of tweets from it. He just assembled them all in this giant thread. So it's fantastic. So if you got 15 minutes and want to scroll through, that's a great place. I couldn't keep up personally. Now, there was a ton of information shared that I couldn't even digest. So I'm just going to highlight a few things that I just happened to grab this morning. The Directions Asia is April 2022. That'll be in Bangkok, Thailand. I would love to go. I don't know that I'll be able to make it, but I love Thailand. Fantastic place. I know Dimitri Katzin is in Thailand right now, so that's just a short hop for him to head over to Bangkok. Fantastic food, fantastic people, beautiful place. I love it. Very hot, like sweltering hot humidity for me, so it was brutal when I visited years ago, but I would love to go if my aging body could handle that very long flight. It's pretty brutal. And then I wasn't familiar with DOK. It's called the Days of Knowledge Conference, apparently. That's going to be spring 2022 in Denmark, date to be determined. AJ is on the plane. So welcome, AJ. He is on the plane heading back from Milan, heading home. Looks like he had a great time. Wow, I have quite a reach. I am being watched on an airplane in Milan by an MVP who just finished the Directions EMEA conference. So have a good flight, AJ. That's awesome. Technology is pretty crazy. So more conferences coming up in addition to the one and only DynamicsCon Live in Anaheim, California, in November. I will see you there. Okay. And not to be forgotten is Directions North America, April 3rd through 6th, 2022, Orlando, Florida. And I believe Summit, the next Summit conference is also in Orlando. So it's like 2 trips out to Orlando. I don't know what it is about Orlando, but it is a long flight for me, unfortunately. So I'll see how that goes. So we have, as Jeremy Visca put on his Twitter handle, FOMO, not FOMO at all. Like, we all had the fear of missing out from Directions EMEA. We will finally get our own Directions NA, 6 months later. But I hope to be going to that. And I don't know if I'm presenting. I need to see if I can come up with a worthwhile session that is deemed valuable enough to present. So I like I said, 10,000 things came out of Directions EMEA, but I was just scrolling through this morning and just happened to see this one. This is a huge thing. If you've been working with Business Central, you know what a hassle it's been to kind of deal with the demo sandboxes, and you can use Docker, but just not everything is connected in Docker. So this sounds interesting. A Business Central partner sandbox with internal use rights, I think. Now, there were 2 things I saw. This says partners can purchase users at a lower price point, $6 per user, minimum 5 user, for use as demo environments, development, and validation in Q4 2021. But the note at the bottom says this will be in addition to our existing in-market internal use rights offer, which is available to partners who achieve silver or gold for the Cloud Business Applications SMB competency. I didn't know about that last caveat, the silver or gold competency, so I need to look into that. It's been years since I've looked into those competencies. So it used to be like you need to have at least 3 or 5 people certified XYZ. So I don't know if my new small organization can achieve that. So we'll see. But my new company is planning on using Business Central internally, so we will have our own copy. But sometimes you just want a dedicated sandbox to mess up and break things. And Vox ISM on Twitter had an interesting twist. They shared and I think someone else told me this, you no longer need a license file for automated test libraries, and the test apps can be installed via AppSource in a sandbox. And yes, someone else did share this with me. I didn't realize this. I don't know when this change was made. But that is one hassle of, if you want to include all the test libraries, even with a Docker container, I have to reference an FLF file in order to do that. Otherwise, it complains that I don't have a file, so a license. So that is great news, wherever that is. So that's a nice improvement as part of this, getting rid of the license requirements for partners and developers. You could still develop, you just couldn't have certain things like the test libraries. Okay. Now, the Directions EMEA conference kind of just overshadowed this entire Business Central launch event, which I almost forgot about already. And that was released October 1st. You go to aka.ms, BCLE is the aka.ms link, and that will take you to just a simple Microsoft Forms registration page, which will then take you to the videos page. And I thought I got an email with a direct link. I just can't find it, but I saved all of the video links in my OneNote so I can get to them. I'm assuming I can re-register, but anyway, there's like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 sessions, I believe, pre-recorded, and I need to go through them. I think I've only looked at 1 or 2. Valuable information, but again, that's like potentially 8 to 10 hours of information on these sessions. So there is more information than we can possibly consume. So it's really difficult. But if you do have time, I have had numerous cases where these videos have had information that was critical to do something that I needed to do, and I didn't know it. And it took me a couple hours. I eventually found an old launch event video, and sure enough, they explained what I was looking for. I was like, oh. So I really do need to do it if I have time. Now, while trying to find information on this, just this morning, I stumbled across this email, and apparently it arrived in my inbox today, and I don't know what this means. Changes to Partner Source Business Center onboarding requirements. And this sounds kind of weird and ominous. When creating a new or updating an existing partner, customer, and partner source, you must complete the registration number field for the following countries. Now, I'll reread this, but I don't think it explained what a registration number was. It just mentions registration number. We'll publish another communication in late November, which will provide additional information in support of these changes. So I have no idea what a registration number is. I don't know how to get it. I don't know if they're just going to hand them out or if we have to submit new information. I don't know if this is a legal or compliance requirement for these countries. Is it like a very strange communication? They really could have improved this. So if you happen to have been paying attention, I've had a few problems with my Microsoft logins, and it is painful when this happens. So this to me is just ominous when I see that I have to do anything with a partner source or MPN or any other login related to Microsoft. So they're rolling it out to these countries. Who knows why? But yeah, the US isn't on there. I do see Poland. I don't see UK. I don't see France. I don't see the Central European. So very strange. The requirement number 1 and the list number 2. Yeah, so if anyone has more information about what this is and why it's such a strange communication, hit me up on Twitter or send me an email or whatever. So, totally random thought, complete transition. I am dealing with mortgage refinancing. It's just that time where interest rates happen to be low. I didn't deal with it the last several years when I probably should have. It's a hassle. I hate doing it. And so I'm dealing with mortgages right now. And it is a reminder that mortgages, refinancing, and sorry to say, mortgage brokers, I call those commodities, absolute commodity. So mortgage broker 1 says, we're going to give you this rate. Mortgage broker 2 says, well, I can give you this rate. It's not as good, but I'll give you less costs, lower costs, closing costs. And then they come back and say, well, I can match their rate and closing costs exactly. So then you're faced with literally just on piece of paper, a couple lines, 2 identical offers. How do you choose? This person says, oh, we're bigger. This person says, oh, we're better. This person says, oh, we can do it faster. This person says, we have better customer service. So you're left with these intangibles, right? That you will never know whether they're being honest, truthful, or whether they can really fulfill on those promises. And I call that a commodity. If I go buy a car, if I want this Toyota, I can get this Toyota from 10 different dealers. And it is the same Toyota provided by Toyota from one of the Toyota plants, whether that's made in my country or imported. And the dealer is just reselling this same car. So they're left to compete on price, and it becomes a cutthroat competitive thing. And that is often good for a consumer. Well, although it may be potentially advantageous for the consumer, it is not necessarily a great business to be in for the person who is selling that commodity. So if I'm a grocery store selling the same groceries that the other grocery store down the street is selling, or if I'm a gas station that's selling the same gas as the station 1 block away, it's kind of hard to differentiate and compete. You're a gas station, and gas stations and grocery stores do have the benefit of physical location. So I'm not going to drive 20 miles to go get the same groceries that I could get, 2 miles away. So that's the one caveat there. But let's take computer parts. I want this computer memory or this hard drive or this monitor. Right? Do I care whether it's from Amazon or Newegg or B&H or someone else? In some cases, I do, because I don't trust computer parts on Amazon as much as I do on Newegg or B&H or whatever. So depending on the item, I may have experience that informs that. But if I'm buying some random, dongle on Amazon or a computer cable or some plastic part, I have no way to differentiate the seller, right? And no matter how good they say they are, you just got to buy. So what if you're selling SaaS software? And it's not your SaaS software. It's someone else's SaaS software. Say, I don't know, Microsoft. Say you're selling, could it be Business Central user licenses? How much does a Business Central user license cost? I know what the US price is. Let's say $70 or $75, whatever the price is. If I go to partner A and they say, we offer this great Business Central user license for $75, come buy from us. I can go to partner B, partner C, and partner D, and they will offer the same Business Central user license at the same price. And yeah, I can get quotes all day, but it's the same thing effectively. My understanding is the margins are so thin on the US Business Central user license, there's literally nothing that a partner can do to discount that. I mean, they could give you $2 off maybe, but that isn't even worth, there's just no difference there. There's no incentive for them. Very little ability for them to reduce the cost of that. They're just reselling that commodity Business Central user license. So every partner will say, well, we add value. We provide better service. We have a deep technical implementation team and consulting team, and we have better customer service. We have better response times. We have a SLA. We will serve you better. Just like the mortgage broker is telling me, they can do it faster. We offer better service and we're a bigger lender. Well, in my experience, paradoxically or not, the bigger organization does not necessarily provide better service in any dimension. Take Microsoft, for example. I am currently on day 25 of a support case with them because my login broke. My MPN account disappeared. We're Microsoft. We're the biggest organization, XYZ, whatever. It is a nightmare dealing with Microsoft, the global organization, because I don't care about Microsoft, the organization. They may be fantastic in Saudi Arabia or in Thailand. I need Microsoft that works on Pacific time zone, not the support person I'm dealing with right now in India who has some bizarre time working hours that I don't like. Does a human work those hours? I don't understand. And they literally cannot help me. Sorry, we cannot help you. So size is not a differentiator in my humble opinion. So anyway, that's my rant. Just to offer the question, are you offering a commodity? And I will bet you anyone who is watching this, who is proud of their business, proud of their services, they will say, no, we don't offer a commodity. We are a professional organization offering X, Y, and Z. Well, are you? I would rethink that. Yeah. So just an open question, open to discussion. And I have always tried to get out of the commodity business. If I look around and I see 10 other people selling the same thing that I would be selling, you can make money in that. You can compete. Absolutely. It's just not the business I want to be in if I can help it. I'd rather put in the extra effort, the extra capital, the extra investment and time and sweat equity in order to produce intellectual property that has me offering something that is not a commodity. By definition, literally no one else sells it. Or if someone else sells it, it's a much smaller marketplace where the customer may have 2 or 3 or 4 options, not 57 options. So just some thoughts that came across. I forget why. Oh yeah, it was the mortgage thing, right? So next point. You may have seen my zany adventures in the world of password cracking, as it's called, or they call it password hash cracking. Essentially, you're not really cracking the password. You're just trying to match a hash that you have retrieved from some system or from some download. So this is a book by one of several organizations that focus on security reviews, penetration testing, and it happens to focus on using Hashcat for password cracking. And one of the easiest password hashes to crack is the NTLM hash. And there have been numerous revisions, it seems, of NTLM. There are different versions, and I was actually unable to extract the NTLM hashes from my 20H2 Windows workstation. I tried several techniques. I was getting hashes out, but they just didn't match. I knew what the password is. I tried a password crack against it, and I couldn't get a match. So there are so many flavors of NTLM hashes that it's actually perhaps more difficult to deal with now. But for a vanilla NTLM hash, these things can be cracked just with staggering speed. So I did a test with 10 passwords at the top there. Bleat 14, Dram Shop 9, Floodgate 17, right? It's a relatively basic dictionary word number combination. 6 seconds to crack all of those passwords. Now, I'm obviously using, I say contrived, because 1, this is an NTLM hash, super easy to crack. 2, I'm using the same word list that I use to generate these passwords. So I know exactly which 105,000 words are being used. So in that sense, it is fully contrived. But just for example, I just wanted to know I would get a hit. 6 seconds for those top 10. Then I said, well, what if I had a symbol? So I have word, 2 digits, and a symbol. 6 seconds. No change. It's that fast. Adding numbers and symbols to a dictionary word added exactly 0 difficulty to Hashcat being able to crack this. Now, in the first test, it used just a fraction of the capacity of the 2 high-end video cards I have. In the second test, it actually did use more capacity of the video card, but the net result was the same, 6 seconds. Now in this third test, I said, well, what if I get clever? What if I take 105,000 words and I add a second word? So I have 2 words from a 105,000 word list. That produces a password set of 11 billion permutations. What if I try that? No. Took under 30 minutes to process. Well, it would take under 30 minutes to process that entire 11 billion word list. I had a problem with my password file. It didn't generate fully. So it completed in 15 minutes and found 7 of 10 of those passwords. In 15 minutes, 11 billion combination result set. So it's a little more difficult to choose a secure password than you might think. And everyone who's seen the Correct Horse Battery Staple XKCD comic, that is no longer a safe method, I am finding. It is crackable. Now, will it take a while? Yes. But the fact that you are using simple dictionary words completely rules that out as a truly secure password these days. So up next is a more sophisticated attack, because I've kind of shown that everything I've tried previously is easily crackable. And so my next attempt is word, symbol, number, word, symbol, number. And that's what I've been using thinking it was secure, but I now know that's unlikely. Now, what makes this difficult is that there could be 11 billion permutations, and that file size is really difficult to deal with. And then when you add in what are called the hash rules for Hashcat to add symbols and numbers, it just doesn't support that format. It's possible, it's just I don't know how to do it. So I found what's called the Purple Rain attack, and that uses a combination of a multi-word dictionary attack provided by what's called the Prince processor, and it then can combine rule sets, Hashcat rule sets and masks, such that it can take word, symbol, number, word, symbol, number, and rather than generating a file, a rule set file or a dictionary file to have this database to feed the processing, it actually does it on the fly, and it pipes those permutations in memory to Hashcat. And so you can run this attack indefinitely. You could have 100 billion permutations without having to generate a massive dictionary permutation file. That's what makes this so sophisticated. The block I've had is that this relies upon a particular Unix command called shuff that does what I think they call it a non-deterministic reordering of a dictionary file. So you don't use the same word list in the same order, like shuffling cards as it was explained in a post that I read. So I have found that shuff is not available on Windows, so I'm having to try WSL, Windows Subsystem Linux on Windows. And I don't have a high-end system running Linux that I can test this on. I would have to do like a dual boot or something with Ubuntu hassle. So I'm trying to see if I can use WSL to use shuff and Hashcat on there to utilize my GPUs and process that. So the goal is to deal with a password like elude parentheses 98 thrummy or %7. I would have thought that would have been some crazy strong password. Fundamentally, because I know the pattern and I know the word list, I think this can be cracked, and it wouldn't be a matter of years, it would be a matter of days. So, yep, all barriers have fallen. So Just as a kick, RoboForm has this feature called the Password Security Center, and it does a review of all your passwords that you have stored, and it tells you, hey, you might want to clean these up. And it's actually really, really strict. It has a very, very high bar for what it considers secure, as I'm learning. So literally all the passwords I thought were secure, it's like, no, that's really bad. And some of them are notably bad, like my library requires a 4-digit PIN, right? And there's nothing I can do about that. That's their requirement for the login. But even my longer passwords, it's like, no, that's weak. I'm like, what? And I think it has clever detection. It knows it's an English word. And so I've tried to clean these up and improve these passwords. It is brutally tedious to log into every site and change the password. I gave up after like 5 or 10. It's like, this takes forever. It is a nightmare. So I don't know what I'm going to do. But it's like every time I log into a site, I have to reset the password just as a habit. But many of these, like you see, 1,550 days, I don't use them. They're old passwords or logins or whatever. So the TLDR of this, the short answer is, from what I'm seeing, the only truly secure way to generate a password is fully random. Like fully random. Use a truly random password generator. And RoboForm has them. Most password managers have them. And you need at least 10 characters. 12 is better. 15 plus is safe. On NTLM hashes, this was several years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. They found that 8-character passwords, even truly random ones, could be brute forced in less than 2 days. Nowadays, that's probably less than 12 hours with an NTLM hash. That is fully random 8 characters. So I think with NTLM hash, you need a minimum of, say, 24 characters random characters, in order for that to be remotely secure against a crack. So it's kind of brutal. Now, tons of caveat around this, right? Someone has to extract those NTLM hashes, which means someone's already compromised your network at that point. But the point is, if you're really looking to counter a brute force attack against a well-formed hash, a properly constructed hash, it looks like it's 24 characters random. It depends on the hash. Now, if you're using an AES hash, like a KeyPass password manager database, as I'm learning, AES is much harder to crack. It's just much more compute intensive. So it is, instead of 10 million hashes per second with NTLM, you're talking 80,000 hashes with AES. And so even an 8 to 10 character random password on AES would take 200 years to crack. It is that difficult. Now, in a massive clustering situation, a massive cracking array, 400 GPUs banging away against it, yes, that could get it down to a reasonable number. If it's lucky, but you really need to know what the format of the password is. So anyway, that's good news and bad news. Yes. And so part of this adventure of generating a dictionary permutation file, this is my first attempt, and this is why I know that using Print's processor to generate an 11 billion permutation file is just not practical. It's way too cumbersome to work with, as I learned. So this is a file that only has 3 billion lines. And instead of dealing with an 11 billion or 4 billion line file, I was testing with a 3 billion line file, because that's where I was having problems with an application called UltraEdit. I was trying to just verify, does this file have 11 billion lines? My test, it stopped at 4.7 billion. So I was like, something seems wrong. So I tried to open the file, go to the end, and I couldn't get to the end. I literally couldn't stroll even halfway down in the file. It's like, this seems weird. Is it a bug in UltraEdit, or is it a problem with my file? That's what I was trying to determine. After working with UltraEdit support for several days, I finally realized when I open a 3 billion line file, this happens. And if you saw my tweet, you already know what the answer is. But if you look very, very closely, and if you are a developer and a total geek, Going back to the point, great point. What about using a non-English words and English keyboard layout, such as Cyrillic in Ukrainian? Yes, excellent point. And some backstory. There is a massive database breach called RockU. It's famous in the password cracking circles. So just a standard password dictionary lookup file for cracking against known password is RockU. And if you try to open the RockU file, you will see a dozen different languages. You will see Cyrillic or character sets, Cyrillic, Thai, Arabic, Chinese or Japanese variants. I can't read them, but you will see non-English, non-ASCII characters in there. And my assumption, I haven't tried it, my assumption is those could be potentially valid ways to make it very difficult to crack. I haven't studied that, so I do not know. I don't know if this mentions that or if Hashcat has a way to deal with those. It could just be that it's the same underlying character code and Hashcat has a way of matching that. I'm not sure, but I know that I had problems even using the RockU password file because of those non-ASCII, non-English character sets. It simply wouldn't work on my Windows machine. It causes very basic operations to fail. So excellent point. If you are familiar with non-ASCII, non-English, non-Latin character sets, I would say that might be an effective way to counter password cracking. However, it also assumes the application or website or tool or whatever you're using for your passwords, OS, supports those character sets. You may enter your password and not be able to log in. So that's the downside. So I don't know the mechanics. It gets really complex when you deal with non-ASCII character sets, extended ASCII, and even UTF. And you probably know if you're a developer, UTF-8 support is very limited and very sketchy at this point. Things just break. So it is a possibility. I don't know how effective it is at thwarting passwords. I speculate it helps. So back to the billions of lines. Do you notice it yet? Well, you might know if you are a developer that there is such a thing as an int32. And an int32 has a maximum capacity of 2.14 billion. Will it show up? There it is. 2.147483647 digits. That's the largest number it can hold, apparently. And I guess if you exclude 0, that goes up to 648. Well, you might notice what happens there. 214-748-3648. I was scrolling through as I couldn't get past a certain point in the file. Well, I was like, okay, what is between 2 billion and 3 billion? Int32 is between 2 billion and 3 billion. So I did a go to line, and I went to 21474830000. And then I slowly paged down. I kept going, but I was like, wait, something looks odd. Once it got to 648, it started counting down the line numbers. I was like, well, that looks like a problem. So I've emailed UltraEdit support and asked them to look into this. Now, presumably there's an int32 behind the scenes somewhere, and that is affecting the display of line numbers. Internally with the lines, it may be using some other storage mechanism, because it's obviously displaying it. But this may be an explanation for why I'm having the trouble navigating. Maybe the int32 is preventing it from scrolling further down in the file, because it is parsing the file. I can open a 4 billion line file and it does parse the entire thing, but I just can't navigate to it within the application. So it could be something relatively minor. Maybe there's some minor bug that is being caused by this. But anyway, interesting. So I am helping improve a product. I think I've used this product, UltraEdit, for like 20 years. Used it forever for large files for this very reason, also for regex. This is well before Notepad++ existed. And people recommended, well, why don't you use Notepad++? Well, Notepad++ can't open a, I think this is a 37 gigabyte file. It's massive. I think Notepad++ has 2 or 4 gigabyte limit, so it can't even open the file. And I looked, I couldn't find any other tool other than UltraEdit that could deal with essentially unlimited file sizes. There was some kind of free tool that claimed to be able to do it, but it had all sorts of reviews saying it didn't work. So yeah, UltraEdit's my go-to tool on Windows for this type of thing. So with that crazy, crazy list of topics and stuff, TGIF, have some coffee. Have a good flight, AJ, and the folks returning from Milan. Have good flights. I hope you enjoyed the conference. And have a good weekend. I have like 4 hours of conference calls this afternoon, so I'm not looking forward to that, but I will try to stay awake, maybe switch to Coke Zero for the afternoon. So have a good weekend. Thanks for watching. Enjoy, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.
Good morning, sun. How are you? Skies above. Gee, it's